Hi, everyone. Welcome to SCARE. Thank you for joining us today for Momentum 2.4. I'm Taylor. I'm the Youth Programs Coordinator here at SCARE, and I work directly with our youth tutoring services. So today we are kicking off part 4 in our second Momentum Career Training series. And so today, the overall topic is going to be Meet the Employees. So if you have been joining in on these Momentum Career Training series for a while, you might know that last year we had a training focused on meeting the employers. And so in that one, we got to hear from various hiring employers and hear what they look for in candidates and some qualities and traits that stood out to them from people that they have hired. And so today, we're going to turn the tables a little bit and hear from employees to hear about the workplace for them and what's important for them in a workplace. And just hear about some experiences and what keeps them motivated in their day-to-day life. And so this is also a reminder that once you complete this training, please fill out the survey. There's going to be a link in the description box on YouTube. And these surveys are just a great way to let us know how we're doing. And it's also a wonderful opportunity for you to tell us what you'd like to see in future trainings as well. We really do appreciate the feedback. So before we jump into everything, as always, we're going to go over the definition of momentum and why we chose this as the theme for our career training series. Momentum is a movement. Momentum is energy. When movement and energy meet, they become your vision. As you visualize your future, your visions become your first steps. First steps become goals that you create, you can realistically achieve because you set your pace. You are the momentum for your focus, your passion, your goals for your family. As you create your momentum, you naturally begin to take steps needed to visualize your goals as actions and positive energy for your future. Be kind to yourself. So one example that we always kind of circle back around to is a marathon, right? So momentum isn't about being the fastest and getting to the finish line first for a marathon. It's really about keeping a steady pace that actually helps you get to the finish line, right? If you're running a marathon and you start off sprinting as fast as you can, you're going to tire yourself out really quickly. And so just in the same way, if you're trying to reach your goals and you try to do everything at once, you're going to tire yourself out very quickly. And so it's really important to find a steady pace that works for you that helps you get to the finish line. And a reminder that building momentum takes time. It isn't something that happens overnight, and it can be difficult to start off with, but that's why we are here for support here at SCARE through Tribal TANF. And just remember that it does take time. So if you have been part of these for a while, you've seen some of these other Momentum Career Training series. You've heard from us in December of 2022 on keeping it professional. In March 2023, we went over personal dynamics. In June, we asked the question, are you ready for your dream job? And now today, for the final part of our Momentum 2.0 series, we have Meet the Employees. And so if you haven't already, I highly recommend going to the YouTube channel and watching our previous Momentum videos. We had a whole series for Momentum 1.0, and we also have our previous videos in Momentum 2.0 as well. And so if you have joined in on these trainings, this is going to be a little bit of a review for you, just on some of the topics that we've covered in the other trainings. So in Momentum 2.1, Keeping It Professional, we went over topics such as inter-office communication, time management and organization, social media accounts and how to keep those safe, and how to keep learning in your day-to-day life, or how to keep learning once you've reached your goals. In Momentum 2.2, Personal Dynamics, we went over a variety of topics, all dealing with personal dynamics. We went over things like strengths and how to identify your strengths. We went over a career toolbox, and these tools to help you know what your soft skills are, your hard skills are, and how these can be used to reach your career goals. And we also covered what's in your wallet, where we talked about things like credit scores and a variety of factors under that, and just other things dealing with credit. In Momentum 2.3, Are you ready for your dream job? We asked the question, what does a dream job mean to you? And we went over things like how to imagine your dream job based off of interests, your schedule, your skills, what's realistic for you, and then also the importance of your family and career needs and how that plays a role in your dream job. So for today, for Momentum 2.4, here are some of the topics you can expect to hear from my wonderful colleagues. We are going to go over things such as managing expectations, especially when you get into a new position or just when you're in a workplace in general. We're going to go over workplace relationships. We are going to go over healthy communication, and there are going to be some exercises available as well that are really helpful for how to use these healthy communication techniques when you are on the job or in your everyday life. We are going to also go over longevity in the workplace. And last but not least, meet the employees. So you'll hear from some employees, and they may answer questions such as, what is a typical workday? What are you most proud of and why? What have been some inspirational moments you've had? And much more, all regarding like their day-to-day work and what really keeps them motivated throughout the workday. And so I hope you enjoyed today's Momentum 2.4. I know you're going to learn a lot of information from my wonderful colleagues, and enjoy. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is William Ferris. I'm a social worker here at SCARE, and I help connect people with resources. So if anybody needs help with like getting a bus pass, transportation, or housing, food resources, I can help get connected to those and legal stuff. So come in and set up an appointment, and I would love to help you. For those of you that do know me, hello. How's it going? And today I wanted to talk about helpful tips for a successful start at a new workplace. So this is kind of just about success initiating success. Whenever I succeed at the workplace, I'm more likely to succeed at home. I'm more likely to succeed in my relationships with my family members and the people that are closest to me if I'm succeeding with my relationships in the workplace. So this is kind of just some helpful tips of how to succeed, because I know some of us are starting new jobs or changing jobs. And so that's what this is about. What I'm going to go over is I'm going to talk about managing expectations as a way to avoid distress. Kind of like how we can identify what we do expect from an employer, and identifying like how to get our job done and ways to go about doing that. I'm also going to talk about organizational citizenship behavior, shortened to OCBs. It's like the acronym for it. And talk about what that is, and then how it can help us succeed in the workplace and have like a more fulfilling workplace. And then Jen is going to talk about healthy relationships and effective communication. So I'll start with giving you guys a story. I remember the first job that I ever had outside of working with my family was in a restaurant. I was like 15 or 16 years old, and my older brother, who's a couple years older than me, and I look up to him, he worked here for a few years before I did. And he would tell me stories about how he would have fun with the coworkers on their breaks. And then that turned into that they would go out and hang out outside of work. And he kind of painted this picture of that it was like a really cool social environment, and he felt a part of like a team. And they hung out at work and had a good time. And then they also spent time together outside of work. So I was like stoked. I was like, oh, I want to go do this. This sounds like something that I'm definitely interested in. Let's go. And so my first day at work, I went and I like rearranged boxes, and I swept the floor, and I think I cleaned like above one of the ovens, and I did dishes. And I was bummed. I was like, what was that? That like wasn't that cool at all. It was just work. And I think that I was so disappointed because I expected so much more. I had this like grand illusion of like what it could be and what it was going to be. And then it turned out to be that I was working in a restaurant. And so I was a little bit disappointed. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is how we can manage our expectations to avoid distress. One of the best ways that we can do this is to identify what's important for us to receive from our employer. So that's going to be specific to you as an individual, but some tips and some things that you can think about are probably pay is going to be important to most people, safety, being treated with dignity, having clear communication with our supervisors and our coworkers, and receiving training and direction from our supervisors or people who can lead us so we can get our job done effectively and efficiently. So I also, so whenever we think about those and we identify like what's important to us, then we have like a clear, realistic picture of like, I'm going to work for this. Like for me, it was like, I'm going to work to have this like great social like experience. And you know what? I eventually did get that. I did feel like I was part of a family and I did have friends that I had meaningful and lasting relationships. But those weren't like the real basic reasons why I was going to work. I was going to work because I needed money. I needed to start paying for my own stuff. I was 16. I was about to start driving. And so the reality of why I was going to work was to be paid. And then, yeah, I wanted to be in like a safe environment. So whenever we identify those things, we can have like a clear understanding of why we're there. It's just like the basics of like, why am I here? Like, what am I doing? Because whenever our basics aren't met, and then we're wondering like, oh, why am I not getting paid when I need to be getting paid? Or this workplace isn't safe, or my supervisors, my coworkers don't treat me with dignity. That's a good time to go ahead and have a conversation with your counselor. Come in, speak with us, and we can talk about like maybe finding like what's a better fit. What's a better fit for us getting our needs met? And maybe we can try before going somewhere else, like try to have clear communication with people and holding our boundaries. So that's kind of why it's important to like manage your expectations in a positive way that are overly positive, and then also managing negative expectations. So whenever we have negative outlooks on what work could or couldn't be, or what it is or isn't going to be for us, sometimes we kind of have a little apprehension about going there in the first place. Redirecting our thoughts to have a positive framework is going to be really important to like counteract these negative expectations. And I'm going to talk about organizational citizenship behaviors later on, and I'll touch more on that. So the next thing about whenever we are at work and we're there and we're trying to figure out how to be successful, because like I said before, success initiates success. If we're succeeding in one thing, we're going to be succeeding in more likely to succeed in other things. So the first thing we do whenever we get to work, we identify tasks and required functions of the job. So like basically this is just like, what am I supposed to do here? What is my role? If I'm a server, like I'm going to take orders and I'm going to bring people food, stuff like that. And like then we identify like, okay, what is it that I need to get this job completed? Like what are the resources that I'm going to need? A lot of times we're going to have to ask for help because this is like new to us. So we identify the hierarchy of the company, whatever that looks like, whatever that organizational hierarchy looks like. So we're going to have people who tell us what we need for like HR needs, like for whenever we get our pay or for our healthcare or paid time off. We need to identify who that person is that we go to. And then we need to identify who the people that we are that are specifically related to like what we do at work, whether that's our department supervisor or our coworkers. Coworkers can be a really good resource to get things done because a lot of times they're doing the same things that we are and they've already been there, so they have experience. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can just ask them how they figured things out and they can help us. It's another reason why relationships within the workplace are very helpful. So now I'm going to talk about organizational citizenship behaviors. What am I talking about when I'm saying organizational citizenship behaviors? This big word. Well, really, whenever people hire people, they use organizational citizenship behaviors to kind of like figure out the kind of people that have this so they can hire people that are going to display this. And what it is their behaviors that create a sense of community and togetherness, and they create a more satisfying job experience for the person that does them and for everybody there. Basically, what an OCB is, it's going above and beyond for your coworkers and your company. So there's like the basics of what you have to do, and then there's ways to go above and beyond that that support you and other people around you. And I'm going to explain a little bit further detail what those can be. Some examples. The first one is altruism. So altruism, OCB, is when an employee helps someone without expecting anything in return. So like when your coworker is overwhelmed that day, like say they have kids and they're up late and they're a little bit fatigued, you go ahead and like you lend them a hand. You don't have as much going on, and so you help them, and you don't expect anything in return. You're just trying to help your coworker because they're a member of your team. Whenever you do stuff like this, it's shown to boost employee morale, productivity, and effectiveness. It makes it more of like a cohesive place, because then one day whenever you're fatigued, somebody else can help you too. The next one I want to talk about is courtesy. Courtesy is exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of just being nice, connecting with people. Hey, how was your weekend? Like, what are you doing? It's like being present enough to be involved and engaged in relationships with people that we work with. The feeling a part of something at work increases the quality of the experience for us and those around us. So, like, if we go to work and we're engaged in a friendly way with people around us and we're nice, we're more likely to feel a part of, and then the experience of going to work is better. We're more likely to succeed. Third OCB I want to talk about is sportsmanship. When things don't go our way, how do we deal with them? So the reason it's called sportsmanship is because it's like when you're on a sports team or any kind of sports, you win sometimes and you lose sometimes. How do we lose? So whenever we're at work and we fail at something, you don't do it the exact correct way. How do we take that? Do we get disappointed? Do we get distraught? And do we let that affect us in so much that we have negative behaviors? Sportsmanship is about not doing that. It's, and the way in which we can do that is whenever things don't go our way, look at it as a learning opportunity. Look at it even as like, oh yeah, I'm glad that I didn't succeed this, because this is an opportunity for me to learn how to do it better. So whenever we look at it with like that frame of mind of like, this isn't a failure, this is an opportunity to grow, we're much less likely to go down that path of like, oh, I'm bummed out and I'm sick of this work thing, and and being negative around other people. Kind of like whenever you're like that, other people are like that too, or they just don't want to be around you. The next one I want to talk about is conscientiousness. The quality, and this is the quality of wishing to do your work duty well and thoroughly. So this is kind of like having like a sense of like pride and ownership, and like, this is my job and I do it well. So whenever we have a sense of responsibility about our work, taking pride in it, it gives us a greater sense of satisfaction. And if we're like satisfied with our job, we're going to be happier. We're going to more likely to succeed. And so that's the reason why being conscientious and like owning like what you're doing and like being like responsible, like I'm responsible for like doing this and doing it well, taking like a sense of ownership for it. It helps us to like have greater satisfaction with it. Last but not least, I want to talk about civic virtue. And this is just like how you talk and even like how you think, like your self-talk, like whenever you're talking to yourself about like where you're working and how you're working. Like it's looking at the good things instead of like the negative. Like whenever you're out and you're being an example of like the workplace and somebody asks you about where you work, what do you say? Do you say like, oh, like it's horrible and like my supervisor is like this and my coworkers, or do you tout it's like good qualities and say like, oh, these are the things that are positive about it and these are the things that I want? It's been found that whenever people do this and they have civic virtue, it creates a sense of community and camaraderie within the organization. So again, it turns into a place where this is like a family situation. Like, this is my work family. These are the people that I want to be with. These are the people that like I want to spend time with. And whenever we just take that overall like view on it and think that this is somewhere where I want to be and do our best to turn it into that, it leads to higher job satisfaction. We're happier at work. And when we're happier at work, we succeed. And like I said, if we're succeeding at work, we're succeeding in other aspects of our life. Some of the benefits for OCBs are it boosts employee morale, it increases the meaningfulness of your work. It increases productivity. It creates better social interactions between employees. It reduces stress. It creates a sense of community among employees and is good for the employer. So I just want to go over these real quick again: altruism, courtesy, sportsmanship, conscientiousness, civic virtue. These are some things you don't remember them, but it's just some things to think about, some things that I've thrown your way whenever you go into a job opportunity to pay attention to that can help you succeed. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Jenna. She's going to be talking about healthy relationships at the workplace and how to engage in effective communication.
Hi, I am Jenna Evans, and I'm in the counseling department at SCARE. And I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit before talking about workplace relationships. I've been at SCARE since June, and I'm loving it. I love working with the Native community. And yeah, I hope you'll see me around and feel welcome to come by the counseling department. If you feel like anything that we're going over seems like you could get a little extra support on it, we'd be happy to have a brief conversation or even maybe set up some sessions for you to really dive into or explore some of the things that are coming up. So we're going to be talking about workplace relationships. Effective communication is where we're going to start. So effective communication involves appropriate channels, active listening, clear articulation, and boundaries. Appropriate channels, all I mean by this is, identifying who to speak to, when, and where. The where would be, is this going to be a conversation that happens in person? Is it more appropriate to text or email about it? Or maybe your company uses Slack or another application digitally. So identifying who would be, is it your employer that you're speaking to? Is it a coworker? Or do you just need a friend to vent to? And then when, is that conversation going to happen at the beginning of your shift? Is it going to happen at the end? Or is it a conversation that's more appropriate outside of work? And then next would be active listening. And active listening is essentially just giving the same amount of respect to others as you hope to receive for yourself, really listening to what they're saying and what their needs are. And so that you all can get the job done and be most efficient and effective and hold mutual respect for one another. Clear articulation. So a lot of the time when we need to communicate something, it needs to be, concise, thinking about your employer or coworker. They're busy and have a lot of responsibilities and things going on as well. So sometimes even writing it out on paper first or role playing with a friend can be really helpful in practicing what you're trying to say in a concise form. And really identifying what your needs are and what the other person can do to meet them. Boundaries. So communicating what you're okay with and what you're not okay with to feel safe and respected at work. And then holding that same respect of boundaries with your employer or coworker. So if a coworker asks you to not text them after 6 p.m., honoring that as one of their needs. Okay, next we're going to talk about acknowledging power. Acknowledging power can be really helpful in just creating some awareness around what our situations are. Power can really play into the dynamics of the workplace. And, we're all working and functioning within a capitalist society. So sometimes, power is not fair or it's unjust. But being able to identify what power you do have or what is in your control and what is out of your control. And trying to figure out what needs to be accepted versus what can be changed. This, I actually kind of have a personal experience with. I worked at a restaurant and the management changed a year into it. And I really struggled with the new management style and the people about how they were going about the workplace and how I was being managed. And I felt really frustrated. And I also felt kind of helpless. And to a degree, there were a lot of things out of my control, but being able to acknowledge that and set a goal for how long I would be working there, for me, that was another year, and then also looking at what was in my control. I could communicate what shifts I wanted to be scheduled for, how much I wanted to be scheduled for. And that really helped me kind of get through that time and acknowledging what was in my control. And then at the end, eventually, leaving and kind of taking back some of that power. And that can look really different for each person, depending on your job and what your needs are. And then what can I safely speak about with whom? So identifying people who are safe inside and outside of work. I first want to talk about venting versus processing. Venting can keep us really stuck in the same stories, and sometimes it gets us really reactive. Our brain can't tell the difference between the past and the present. And so sometimes that can be harmful to ourselves or others. Sometimes venting with other coworkers can keep us all stuck. Whereas processing helps us to get to the emotional routes and then developing coping and plans for the future. That can help us get unstuck. What can we do about it and how can we move forward? Asking for and saying no. So it can be really difficult to know how strongly to ask for something or how strongly to say no to. Identifying capabilities, priorities, self-rights, authority, relationship, goals, give and take, homework, and timing can really help. I have a little game for that. This is called the dime game. So if you're trying to figure out how strongly to ask for something or say no, this can be a really great exercise to reflect on what we're asking for, what we're saying no to. So on the left, you'll write down 10 cents for each time you say yes. If you're trying to decide how strongly to ask for something, on the left, it's how to decide how strongly to say no to something. Each time you say no, you'll put 10 cents in the bank. And then at the as the results are listed here, you can kind of figure out, what you're asking for and how strongly to ask for it. Got a link at the bottom if you want to take it virtually. And then I statements is what I want to end with today. So, say for example, your boss keeps dumping work on you, even though you're working overtime and it's just becoming too much. I statements are a way to keep the conversation very neutral, not attacking other people, and yet still clearly communicating what your need is. So I feel very overwhelmed when I get additional work. When I'm already working overtime could be a really good example of an I statement in how to navigate a hard conversation and trying to communicate the need that you have. So it's I feel blank when blank. I feel emotionward when explanation. So the example I gave was I feel overwhelmed when I keep getting additional work after hours. And then just to go over, we talked about effective communication. We talked about acknowledging power. And then what can I safely speak about with whom? Thanks so much, guys, for listening. And again, if you're thinking about some of these things and you realize, I still don't have my answers kind of met, or I'm still not really sure about how to have effective communication in the workplace, or maybe you're working on boundaries. That is definitely something we'd be happy to help you with in the counseling center, so that we can get you some better support.
Hello, my name is Michelle O'Quinn. I'm the job developer for SCARE. Some of the things that I do here at SCARE for my participants is that we put together your resume, we work on cover letters. I also provide the ONET and we go over the ONET. The ONET is basically an interest survey and we figure out your career path from there, unless you already have something in mind. I show my participants how to navigate the online job websites and search engines. We do mock interviews, how to write a thank you letter, how to negotiate pay, things like that. I do anything that's work related. So if you need help finding a job or maintaining a job, I do my best to try to help. But today we're talking about longevity in the workplace. Longevity in the workplace, as you'll see, it's not just about you, it's about several things that create that longevity in the workplace. So just a brief introduction about myself. I was a supervisor for 20 years. I hired over 180 employees. I worked with CalWorks and PCG and hired employees from there as well. I worked full-time and I was a single mother of 7. And during that time, I also graduated from college. I did some of my classes in person, and then some of my classes were online. When my daughter was younger, she used to tell her friends that I would be on the computer all night long. And so, like, just from her voice and the way that she expressed it, she probably thought that I was on Facebook all night long or something to that effect. But the fact of the matter was I was doing homework. But later on, when she turned 13, she goes, "Mom, when I was younger, I used to tell all my friends that you were just on the computer all night. And I didn't know what you were doing. You're just on the computer all night long, just tapping away on your keyboard." And she goes, "But now," she goes, "I know that you were up all night on the computer because you were going to school." And I was like, "Yeah." It took COVID and working remote. I mean, like, going to school remote for you to figure that one out. But yeah, it was really cute to hear that from her. So this is our agenda, also like our table of contents. So we're going to go over work habits, some soft skills, interview the employer, and finding solutions. I have on there interview the employer because longevity in the workplace isn't just about you and your work habits and your soft skills and whether or not you do everything the right way. Longevity in the workplace also has to do with the employer and the work environment. We don't have like a labor laws and things like that in place because employers always do the right thing. Those are in place because like some work environments can be toxic. So I wouldn't advise anyone to try to look for longevity in a toxic workplace. Longevity in the workplace also has to do with the employer's ability to retain employees. So there's also this, this employee retention, that you have to look at as well. And then the last one is finding solutions. So professionalism in the workplace looks different according to work environment and the expected tasks. For example, customer service representatives are expected to speak clearly and to remain polite, even though they may have some rude customers, some customers that are just outraged by the service that they receive, go call your manager. But they still have to, remain polite, speak clearly, try their best to get that customer to understand, where they're coming from. A lot of that has to do with your ability to communicate and in a way to where it's not that you're just waiting to respond for, that customer to be quiet so you can respond, but to basically walk that customer from where they're at emotionally and mentally and walk them to where you are, and how you perceive things to be, in that certain situation. Employers also expect employees to work hard, to manage their time effectively, and to produce quality work. These are not all the professional soft skills, of course, but I just laid out a few. It's attitude, accountability, and image. So attitude is to honor your commitment. So if you say that you're going to do a task, like that you're actually going to do it. To be attentive and proactive. So pay attention to what's going on and then be proactive in trying to find a solution or making sure that the ball doesn't drop. Get to know the work culture. Some work cultures are just, it's just product after product after product after product, like just busy, constantly on the go. And then there's other work environments and work cultures where it's really laid back, coworkers really get time to know each other and to bond and things like that. And you'll find that you might be in a work culture where it's just no one knows anybody. It's just you're there to do your job and get out. So just understanding the different types of work cultures that are going on, and to avoid negative side politics, just stay out of it. Next is accountability, taking responsibility for your actions, owning up to your decisions and your performance, and taking responsibility for your results. Image is, having the proper greeting and handshake, proper grammar, tone, and word choices, effective. And this is when you're writing, when you're texting, and when you're emailing and leaving a message, having proper grammar, tone, and word choices. Effective writing and verbal communication, and having proper etiquette in office behavior. Now, evaluating your employer. So we're going to look at your employer's attitude. Do they honor their commitment? Are they attentive and proactive, or are things constantly falling through the cracks? Do they understand the work culture? So you have some employers who are actually there on site, your site managers, and then you have some work environments where the site manager is not even, the manager is not even on site, and they don't understand the work culture or how, things work in that work environment, in the work environment. And do they avoid negative side office politics and gossip? And this is important because I think that sometimes, especially now when we're dealing with younger office managers, that they don't understand the level of which harm that they can cause by getting into these negative side office politics and getting into the gossip, because it's like your position sometimes as a manager, well, all the time as a manager, has some weight, to what it is that they say. So a negative comment, it affects the employee more than it is if, somebody who's in the next cubicle says it. If somebody in the next cubicle says like, oh, her hair is messy, like that's one thing. But if your boss like says in a gossipy way, oh my God, I can't believe her hair is so messy, then it carries some weight with that. And so that's why evaluating your employer and how they do things is important, because like if they don't understand the magnitude of their words and how it affects their employees, then that job retainment, they're gonna go through employees constantly, because employees are gonna feel disrespected because that manager represents the company. So it's not going to be like, oh, well, my boss doesn't respect me. It's going to be that company has no respect for its employees. And it's not even that, it's that company. It could just be that particular manager or that particular employer. So it's just understanding that, their attitude affects the employees, their attitude affects the people around them, and, what is the turnover in that work environment? Because a lot of times companies have a high turnover rate because they need to get rid of the manager, not that they need to get rid of the employees. Also, too, accountability. Does your employer take responsibility for their actions? And I've seen this over and over again, where managers will blame this particular office or that particular office, or, this department, that department. And it's just like, well, you're the manager, so basically the ball falls in your court. Does the employer take responsibility for their actions? Does the employer own up to their decisions and performances? And then does the employer take responsibility of their results? Because managers are really quick to take responsibility for things that went well, but then when things didn't go too well or it wasn't so hot, then a lot of times you'll see employers who don't take responsibility for the results of, whatever was going on. Employer evaluation. So again, it's like we're talking about this turnover rate. So yes, when we're talking about longevity in the workplace, it does have to do with the employee, how well you work, how hard you work, the quality of work that you put out, whether or not you're professional in the workplace, so on and so forth. But then also to job retention and to lower that turnover rate, also has to deal with the employer as well. So acknowledgement, validating others helps shape the culture of the organization. Over time, it builds the backbone of motivation and high-performing teams, where each employee feels heard, valued, and appreciated. Everybody wants to feel acknowledged, and this again has to do with the employer understanding their role in the workplace and validating and acknowledging their employee for the job that they do. Clear guidance. So direction can help increase accountability in the workforce by ensuring that every member of the team knows their responsibilities. This makes it easier for management personnel to fix obstacles to productivity and recognize the accomplishments of the most valuable team members. I always, as an employer, would have my employees sign their job description. So in their job description, it would say like what their job title was, and these are the jobs that I expect you to do, and this is what I expect to be done. Every year we would have an in-service. We would go over job titles, what we're expecting of them in that title, and then at the end of the in-service, we would have them sign their job description. And then also too, like we can look at benefits, and the most common benefits in the workplace are medical, disability, life insurance, retirement benefits, and paid time off. Also in an in-service, which would usually be annually, I would have HR come in and go over the benefits, in the company. So it's just like everybody's on the same page. We all know what's expected of us. We all know what's expected of the company, and that there's nothing left to question. I like having in-services just because it allows employees to be able to ask questions about the company and to get a clear understanding. And sometimes there might be some errors that need to be fixed, and it allows the company as a whole to come together to fix some of those problems. Allow your resources to work together. So we're going into this whole problem solving aspect of longevity. So you can't have longevity in the workplace if your workplace doesn't exist anymore. So that's where the whole being proactive and finding resources and finding solutions comes into place, because over time things change. So as we see things changing, we need to be proactive in solutions. All of us network in our own little way, whether it's at a powwow, barbecue, a friend who knows a friend, things like that. And sometimes we can pull those resources to work together to create a solution, like in our workplace and even in our own personal life. So we want to be able to find solutions. So if the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail. So this is a famous quote by Abraham Maslow, which refers to the concept commonly known as the law of instrument, or Maslow's hammer. It refers to the over-reliance on a familiar or favorite tool. While such tools can be very useful at times, over-reliance can result in approaching a problem in ways that are not always helpful and even destructive. So as time goes on, things change, solutions change. We have to be more inventive, more creative in how we're going to solve problems. Problems in our own personal life, problems at work. They may not even be problems, they can just be like little hiccups. But I mean, you can't keep using the old tools for a new problem. It's not going to work. And sometimes things break, they fall apart because you're trying to use old strategies on something that's new. Just know that you matter, and it's important to learn different and new ways of thinking and behaving when facing reoccurring challenges. So things that are going on in the workplace. A red flag that something is off in the workplace is if the same problem keeps occurring over and over and over again. That means that there needs to be something needs to be tweaked. I'm sorry. Something needs to be tweaked in the way that this challenge is being addressed. So just brainstorming and not being afraid to provide a solution and try to be proactive and try to catch problems, try to catch hiccups before they become a problem. And everyone's capable of contributing to a solution regardless of their pay grade or job title. And then this also comes with the whole employer acknowledging, what it is that you're saying and respecting what it is that you're saying. Because again, I go back to that high turnover rate. Like, you can't have longevity in a workplace if a manager does not know how to manage its employees, doesn't know how to respect them or acknowledge them. And then also too, as an employee, if you love your job, you love your company, the company that you work for, you want to protect it, you want to be proactive. If you see any hiccups, share your ideas, because you like what you do, you love the company, you want to see it thrive, as much as you want to see yourself thrive. So longevity in the workplace has several factors. It's your work habits, your performance, it's also the work culture, and then the leadership's ability to manage. With this work culture, also too, like going back to a few slides back, it's that whole delving into side politics and gossip, in the workplace, and that can destroy a work culture from the inside out. So just having those communication skills and being able to communicate how you feel in a way that's going to be positively received. So thank you for listening to longevity in the workplace. And should you have any questions, you can always call me at the SCARE office. I would love to hear from you. The number here is 619-328-0676. Again, that's 619-328-0676. Have a wonderful day.
Hello, welcome everyone. This is the Momentum Training 2.4. Meet the Employee. Julie and I are here to discuss our roles at SCARE. We'll be answering 5 questions, kind of sharing a little bit about what we do, who we are, and why we love our job so much. So I'll introduce myself first, and then I'll pass it over to Julie, and then we'll expand on the questions that we have. My name is Elise. I'm Purepecha from Chanancani, Michoacan, and Cape Verdean. I am the educational counselor and academic tutor here at SCARE, and I started here in January of 2023, so it's been about 8 months that I've been in my role.
All right, and hello everybody. My name is Julie DeFilippi. I've been working with SCARE for 8 years now. I'm the 2B youth coordinator here, and as well as helping out in admin. And
So we're going to get into our questions and share a little bit about ourselves. So just kind of sharing a little bit about like a typical workday of what we do here. And so at a nonprofit, it's kind of a given that we do a lot. So just because our roles are kind of specific maybe to education or counseling or supportive services, we all help each other, which is really gives a true family dynamic to our organization. And a typical workday can look anywhere from coming into the center, debriefing in the morning amongst ourselves and discussing how our day is going to look, what participants we have scheduled, planning in. Also, many participants often come in just as walk-ins, so we're always prepared to serve them as well. And I serve a lot of the participants with educational services, so assisting with attending college, applying for FAFSA, help with transcripts. I also do GED and computer instruction, so Word, Excel, assisting with any kind of tutorial services from youth to adults and elders as well. We have really amazing services here. We have a elder cell phone class that I instruct as well with assistance from my amazing coworkers. And so it's kind of a communal setting. A lot of people will come in and out, and we're always ready to serve. And if not, I really never hesitate to ask one of my coworkers because, again, we're all really comfortable with each other. And our main goal is to serve our community and our people. So we all kind of, if there is ever an issue, we all connect together to resolve that. So it varies really day to day. But typically it is a full 8 hours, and we're always open to the community for assistance.
and what my typical day looks like, as Elise had said, that it can change from day to day or week to week, depending on what time of the year it is, because we'll have extra stuff going on, like gift card distributions if it's the holidays, so on and so forth, outreach, powwows, stuff like that. But for my typical day, I'm a 2B youth coordinator, so I kind of prepare for my classes. I have 4 classes a month, and I go from different sites throughout the month. So I prepare for that in regards as my curriculum that I'm going to do with the kiddos and activities I have to try to figure out. I'm also helping out in admin. So the first person you see when you walk in that door every day. I'm opening the door up, I'm answering the phones, I distribute the mail when it comes, I work on files. I'm learning how some of the other programs work. So we all do wear many hats here at SCARE. But I like it because it keeps me on my toes. I'm learning a lot. And I just love helping everybody. And in one way or another, I'm helping. And if I don't know it, then I'm going to find it, or the resources. If we don't have it, then I'm gonna find that resource for that person or individual that comes in.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a collaborative effort. I think a lot of us all work together, and all of us all work together, I should say, to make things happen. Whether it's kind of a mix of clerical, curriculum building, even just kind of like discussing having a space for community members to come in and just kind of share their needs or sometimes their frustrations with us. And we offer that space as well. So it varies for sure, but we definitely have a lot going on and we love it. It keeps us busy and it's really enjoyable work.
It's rewarding.
Yes. And okay, and so our next question is reflect on current employment. What are we most proud of and why? And so that's hard. There's a lot of things that I can be proud of in terms of working for Scare. I think we really live and truthfully live our vision of helping people. And helping people can look so different. And so I think it's really important that we focus on helping people in many areas and what that looks like for them. So we don't necessarily define that help. We assist with things, the needs of our community members, our participants that come in. So I'm really proud to be part of an organization that genuinely believes in uplifting and helping the community in ways that are self-sustaining them in terms of support, preserving culture, all the things that are just important to me and to us as Native people. This is something that Scare is also a part of and they consider to be important. And so I think being part of an organization that lives that truth and also shows that instead of just kind of saying that on paper really means a lot to me. And I'm just proud to be a part of, the community in a way that's meaningful and really, really makes a difference. And I see that just with participants who have been with us for a really long time, even before me, who continue to come back and still know that this is a safe space for them. And so I'm definitely proud to be part of Scare because I think that we live our truth in uplifting and helping the community.
Nice. For me being here for 8 years, I can honestly say I started out as a participant here at Scare, and then they offered me the job as a 2B youth coordinator, and that was just, it was a dream come true because they helped me become who I am now. And I've learned a lot. And so now I'm in admin and I'm taking on other skills now and things I didn't think I could do. And it feels really good. It just feels really good. And now I'm helping everybody and I'm helping people now. And it's just like, oh, it's like the best feeling on earth. So I love my job here at Scare.
I love that, Julie. Okay, and so our last question, it says, do we do community outreach and what have been some inspirational moments you've had? So Julie and I, maybe you've seen us out in the community, we do the community outreach. So not only going to the powwows, but also other events in the community, whether that be for education, support. I know there was the Native Women for Change, I believe we were part of as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just again, anything in the community where we can showcase what we do and offer our services to as many people as possible who are in our community, we try to do that. And in terms of an inspirational moment, I think just what I love to see is, again, I'm fairly new, so I feel this sense of just like love and care when members that have been our participants in the past or members of the community who know us come to us at our outreach events and they don't necessarily need anything from us. They're just coming to say hello, or they're so excited to see myself or Julie again, or they're just, excited to share, like, oh, I remember being at Scare. You guys are still around. I'm so excited. I'm so happy. It just shows our long history of, being of service to our people. And I think that's beautiful. And so those are really inspirational moments, and also connecting, making new connections, making ourselves known to people who maybe don't know us, other Native organizations who maybe don't know who we are, and making those connections and feeling like so excited about getting new things started or new opportunities for our participants or for our collaborative efforts. And so it's really inspiring just being in community with others and seeing the excitement about collaborating with us or just saying hello because they haven't seen us in a while. And so that's really amazing, and I think again very telling of who we are as an organization.
Yeah, I agree on all that. And I might repeat some of the stuff that Elise just said, but doing outreach for so many years, it's very nice to get out in the community, to see people, especially after COVID, seeing people again. It's been amazing, and everybody needs that connection. And a lot of people know us from past years, just like Elise said, and they just want to come up and say, hi, how's everybody doing? Who's over there at Scare now? And has things changed? And some people, this is great to do it because some people don't even know we're out here. Scare's out here. So that for me is why I go, because I want to let everybody know who we are and what we do there. And for inspiration, I love seeing old participants here that I used to come here or even came here in the past, and now they're doing really good and they have jobs and they're just happy and things are going great for them in life as how it should be. So that's the biggest inspiration for me. I know we're doing good work out here.
I love that. And anything else we have to add? I think I just would like to say, I feel like it's really important in the workplace to feel comfortable about sharing your concerns, about feeling like you really are part of a team. And honestly, besides maybe one other job I can think of, this Scare being here really feels like a team effort. I truly, genuinely feel like we are all together wanting the absolute best for our participants, where I have no issues with connecting with my coworkers, meeting with my coworkers, bringing, obstacles or frustrations to them where we can all work together. Or questions, maybe I don't know things. Again, I'm new, things that I'm still learning. Never once have they ever made me feel, inadequate or shamed about needing help. And that's important in the workplace. I really think that that's something that keeps me wanting to come back, keeps me happy about being here because I feel very supported. And I just think that's super important in a workplace and as an employee, as a good employee at that. I think if we're putting in tremendous effort, I want to feel like I'm supported. And that's something I absolutely do feel at Scare.
Yeah. And
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I guess my last thing I'd like to say is I'm very appreciative of where I am today. I've had so many jobs in the past where you don't even know how it was bad. It was just bad work environment. No appreciation for any of the hard work I did in there, wherever it was. And I've had many jobs, and I can honestly say being here at Scare, it's wonderful. I love my job. I look forward to it. I can't wait to come to it. Our boss, Miss Wanda, she's amazing. She really is. She cares, and I just love having a job where I'm helping others.
And being feeling supported again,
Definitely.
because there's so many. I've had many roles where I have been of service to others. I have helped others, but maybe management or maybe coworkers or maybe the organization as a whole weren't living that truth of truly being for the people. And I don't feel that way here. And so, yeah, that's all we have to share. I hope we were able to showcase how much we love working at Scare. And I hope this is inspiration for you to find a place where you also feel loved and supported and valued and cared for, because those are things that you deserve in your work. Absolutely. I think professionalism can include all of those things. Work can include all of those things. And it's important that it does. So I hope that you find your dream job.
Yes. Good luck. out
Thank
there.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi,
everybody. My name is Kate Turk, and I am the Education and Career Counselor for SCARE in Ventura. We have a few questions here, and I'm going to be answering some of them. Wait 1 minute. So I've been working for SCARE for 3 years. It's actually a couple weeks ago that I hit my 3-year anniversary. My typical workday pretty much is based on what's happening with the local colleges and schools and things like that. And so when I come into the office, I'm normally catching up on emails and text messages and replying to things for different participants and checking all my referral boards for the Unitas platform. After I've done all of that, I'm usually contacting specific people. So in the last couple of days, I've been working on contacting volunteer tutors and basically matching them with families that are interested in tutoring services. I've been doing interviews with those individuals and then dispersing them with the specific family and then doing a basic like one-on-one with the family to verify things that student may need help with and what their availability and things like that are. I've also been starting my work on our summer enrichment by starting to gather some curriculum and stuff for next summer and just updating files for current participants, checking their follow-ups, making sure my measurable skill gains are all up to date for each of my students that are in college or in some type of training program. And then on the other hand, I'm also importing all the new pay stubs, importing new school registration, completing supportive services for individuals, and then uploading all those payment requests and receipts, sending things to Chloe, who works in our fiscal department. And it just depends on the day, how many phone calls I get, if I'm answering questions, if I'm dealing with people's school schedules or I'm trying to register them for school, trying to make sure that they fit their IGETCs, making sure they fit their CSU requirements, GE requirements, transferring TAP, completing FAFSAs with individuals, making sure that they are getting their financial aid for school. I'm talking to counselors at other schools. Sometimes I'm doing basic one-on-ones with students in person, but I have a lot of students that are in Sonoma County as well. So I'm working with all those 7 counties going up to Sonoma. I'm speaking with principals to make sure that placement for some of my students at some of the schools are going well. Yeah, it just really depends on what's happening, what schools are in session, if I'm ordering books for people, textbooks, if I'm checking in on grades and progress reports. It just really depends on the season. So if it's school season, if we're in school, it's really, really busy. Once we get into summer, it kind of varies because I'm starting to do stuff more for STEM-based summer enrichment, curriculum building, some tutoring, depending on the person, and job placement. So then on the other side, I'm working on resumes, I'm working on cover letters, I am assisting people with building a LinkedIn profile or an Indeed or a Monster profile, uploading those documents, applying for jobs, going on to government jobs, finding out personality traits that fits within specific jobs. So we got the kids who graduate high school and they really don't know what they want to do. They just know that they're not a good fit for college. We look in vocations. Those who know they want to go to college, I help them transition to that as well and keep in contact with them through the entire process. So we make sure they're staying on track, they're getting good grades, they're doing well. Same with employment, making sure our incentives are up for employment, making sure people are still employed with the same employer. If they need anything while they're employed, I'm always keeping up with them about every 30 days. So my calendar is basically full at all times with things I need to do, things that are coming up, follow-ups, people that have exited, people that have called me just to catch up because they're no longer participants, but they want to let me know some great thing that's happening in their life. So it just depends every single day. So the next question was reflecting on my current employer. What are you most proud of? Since I started at SCARE, I was really excited to try to do more stuff with young people specifically, and specifically for education, having worked prior in a school district and working for a Title VI program. I was really drawn to helping youth because I saw so many issues, specifically in our county, with kids actually completing things. So in regards to what I'm proud of starting a pilot tutoring program here in Ventura County. We received multitude of kids who are interested in getting tutoring hours. We do have a really well-known private school here, and we also have a really well-known tech and science medical based high school here. And so I get most of my tutors from those schools, and they are required to have hours of volunteer experience. So I am able to give them their hours, and they are able to give us and our youth tutoring to keep them at grade level or to excel in specific areas academically. I also started a summer enrichment program, which has been really awesome. We've been able to do that with donation from specifically Patagonia here in Ventura. And that was awesome from the first class to now our second year. It's been a blast to build the things that we're going to be teaching, the projects, art. And this year we incorporated some culture, which was really awesome, having elders take part in that. We also do, so I disperse surveys for those things, and the kids have been overwhelmingly excited for the coming year. They are also appreciating going to school and starting school. So we're trying to keep them excited about going to their next grade level in hopes that education becomes like a priority and something that they're excited about so that they can continue and hopefully will go into higher education. And lastly, I would say, more recently, I have made contact with our closest Native American Indian Health clinic in Santa Barbara. And that has been really awesome as well, because I've been able to get some of our young people and people who are doing career changes. They are not now able to go and shadow. So I've been in contact with the director of medicine for the clinic, and he is allowing shadowing for those who want to go and work as PAs, as RNs, as doctors. We also have the dental office. And so anybody who wants to go into dental assisting and stuff, I have the ability to get them into a shadowing experience to see if that's the right career option for them, if that's something that's going to fit the environment's going to fit their personality, and if it seems like something that they want to continue with. So that's been really great. We're trying to start establishing also in their fiscal department, in their insurance department and all that, to get people who are interested in medical billing, front and back office, basic reception, so they can get more experience. I mean, it's unpaid, but for our young people, I think it's a really good opportunity for them to really experience work, experience the environment before they make that major, change, or they start taking classes for something and realize later on, hey, this is not a good fit. So let's try to get that situated prior to taking additional classes or trying to work towards something that might not be the best fit for them. Last question was inspirational moments. So I would say my inspirational moments really also blend in with why I stay at SCARE. So when I started, I was working with youth that were homeless, that are now currently at a Cal State University, which is awesome. I have an older adult who did a career change, who did not have education, who, as I've been working with her for 3 years, is now full-time employed, completed her GED, and is doing amazing. I got a young man who was very socially anxious, going from that social anxiety and being afraid and dropping out of high school to now being in his second year of junior college and doing amazing. And just seeing my participants grow and do great things has been really inspiring for me personally. Being able to reach out to the community. I've been inspired by a lot of our elders as well, which has been really awesome. And I think just growing this friendship with the community, which has been great, and people calling me if they have questions or concerns, or hey, this person called me and they said talk to you because you would know my kid wants to do this, that, and the other thing. It's been really great. It's been really great to know that I can use all the knowledge that I've attained in the last 20 years to really help people do better so they can get out of poverty, to do better so they can have employment that actually is enjoyable, but they're actually making real money, to get kids in school, to get them to graduate. It's just been really, really cool. And every year I have new kids. I mean, I even got this last year, I even got invited to two graduation parties for two of my high school students. So that was really awesome. I got invited to a graduation from the junior college. It's been just really cool to be somebody who can inspire young people who come to me and they just want to become a CNA. And I know that they're so smart and I want them to reach for the stars. And so now I've got two of them who came in who really didn't know what they want to do, but they were really good at math and science, and seeing them go from that to now being registered nurses, working in hospitals, it's just, it makes me so happy. So I would say that's my main things. I absolutely love my job. I love that I can grow and that I'm given the ability to kind of step out of the box a little bit. I'm kind of staying within my my title, which is education career counselor, but also being able to kind of step out of that and help other people and know that I am the person that they can come to, that they feel comfortable with. In the last year, I've really tried hard to work more with students who may have disabilities, trying to advocate for families that have children who may need IEPs or 504s, presenting that with people, sending out surveys for people. And I've had a lot of really great responses in that area. So I've been really trying hard to help parents kind of go through that process, because it is very overwhelming, and it's been really, really fun to be able to do that because I've been in their shoes. And so I'm kind of more able to relate to these parents, guardians and caregivers and everybody else in between. So that's been really, really enjoyable as well. So yeah, I'm just happy with what I do. It's very exciting. And thank you. Bye, everybody.